Zina remembers the exact moment her life changed forever. Her name, her identity, her place in the world, everything shifted on a quiet evening that started like any other. There was no warning, no strange sign, no hint that this would be the day she would carry like a scar. It was simply the day her mother looked her straight in the eyes and told her the words that burned themselves into her memory. "From today, you are no longer my child." Those words were not shouted. They were spoken calmly, firmly, almost casually, yet they cut deeper than any scream could have. But to understand how Zina reached that moment, you need to know the story of the life she lived long before that evening. Zina grew up in a house where love didn't flow. It had to be earned, begged for, or imagined. Her mother, Mama Aisha, was a woman known in the community as strong, hardworking, and resilient. People admired her, but they didn't know the version of her that Zina knew. Behind closed doors, she was cold, distant, and quick to anger. She carried so much pain from her past that she began to pour the weight of those wounds onto her eldest daughter. Zina reminded her too much of her father, the man who walked out when she was only 5. Every anger her mother carried toward him, every disappointment, every heartbreak, Zina became the target. As a child, Zina tried to be perfect. She tried to speak softly, move carefully, and obey quickly, but nothing she did ever seemed enough. If she cleaned, her mother found a stain. If she cooked, her mother complained it was tasteless. If she excelled in school, her mother barely nodded. Praise never came. Love was a distant dream. And yet, Zina kept trying because a child will always search for their mother's approval, even if it is hidden behind a wall of ice. By the time she was 14, Zina had become the adult of the house. She woke early to prepare her younger siblings for school, cooked meals, cleaned endlessly, washed clothes by hand, and still studied late into the night. Her teachers admired her intelligence. Neighbors praised her maturity, but her mother saw only mistakes. Zina carried burdens that were not meant for her young shoulders, but she carried them anyway because she believed that one day her mother would finally look at her with pride. That hope shattered on a Saturday afternoon. Her mother was expecting important visitors, and as usual, Zina handled every preparation alone. She swept, mopped, cooked, washed plates, arranged the living room, and ensured every corner looked perfect. She was exhausted, but she pushed through because she wanted, just once, to see her mother happy. As she adjusted the living room table, her elbow brushed against a ceramic vase, her mother's favorite. It wobbled, slid, and before Zina could catch it, shattered on the floor. She froze. The sound echoed through the entire house. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. Then her mother appeared at the doorway. Her eyes scanned the pieces on the ground, then moved to Zina's trembling figure. The storm erupted instantly. Words flew like arrows. "Zina, can't you ever do anything right? You're always the one destroying things. This is why your father left. You bring nothing but bad luck into this house." Zina tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to apologize, but her mother wasn't listening. That vase wasn't the only thing that broke that day. Something inside Zina cracked too. But it was the evening that followed that changed her life. After the visitors left and silence filled the house, Mama Aisha called Zina to the dining table. Zina walked there slowly, nervously, hopping for a conversation, maybe even forgiveness. But her mother's expression was unreadable. Her voice was calm, steady, and final as she said, "I've thought about it, Zina. From today, you are no longer my child. You have brought me nothing but pain. Pack your things and leave this house." Zina stared at her mother, waiting for a sign of softness, a flicker of doubt, anything. But there was nothing, not a single trace of hesitation. With shaking hands, Zina went to her small room and packed her belongings into a nylon bag. Her younger siblings stood watching, tears streaming down their faces. She hugged them and tried to smile, telling them she would be okay, even though she had no idea where she would go. When she stepped outside, she didn't even have her slippers on. She walked barefoot into the night. The cold ground stung her feet, but the pain in her heart was far worse. She wandered for hours, her legs trembling, until she found an incomplete building to sit in. That night, she cried until she could no longer produce tears. The darkness around her felt safer than the home she had known all her life. Life after that was survival. Zina washed plates in local restaurants, cleaned offices, carried loads at markets, and accepted any job that paid even a small amount. She slept wherever she found shelter, unfinished buildings, wooden benches, and sometimes even on bare floors. There were days she ate nothing, nights she couldn't sleep because of fear. But through all of it, she kept telling herself, "Zina, you will survive this. You will not break." Over time, people noticed her determination. A kind woman who owned a small provision store offered Zina a place to sleep. Later, someone helped her get a job at a printing press. Zina saved every naira she earned, avoided unnecessary spending, and held tightly to her dream of a better life. Slowly, painfully, she began to rise. She completed her education, found better work, and eventually rented a small room where she finally knew what peace felt like. She created a life built from pain, discipline, and endurance. She grew into a woman she was proud of, a woman her mother never believed she could become. Years passed, and one evening her phone rang. It was her younger sister. Her voice was shaking. "Zina, Mama is sick. She has been asking for you. Please come." The old wounds reopened instantly. Zina froze, unsure if she could face the woman who had thrown her away, but something deep inside whispered to her to go. When she arrived at the hospital, she saw her mother lying on a bed, weaker than she had ever looked. Their eyes met, and for the first time, Zina saw something she had never seen in her mother: regret. Mama Aisha reached for her hand with trembling fingers and whispered, "My child, forgive me." Zina stood still, stunned. Her mother continued, "I was hurting, and I punished you for wounds you didn't cause. I drove you away. I said things no mother should ever say. Forgive me, Zina, please." Tears escaped Zina's eyes. She had waited her entire life to hear those words. She forgave her mother, not because everything was suddenly okay, but because forgiveness was the only way she could free herself from the past. Her mother passed away months later, but at least they ended their story with truth and healing instead of bitterness. Today, Zina's life is a testimony of resilience. She stands as proof that rejection is not the end, that pain can transform into strength, and that family is not just blood. Family is love, kindness, and support. The day her mother told her she was no longer her child did not destroy her. It rebuilt her. It reshaped her future. It pushed her to become stronger, wiser, and unstoppable. And though she was once the abandoned girl walking barefoot into the night, today she walks in purpose, knowing she survived the kind of pain that could have broken her forever. Zina's story is a reminder that sometimes you lose everything before you find yourself.